25 years, the International Space Station has been humanity's home in space. A place of breathtaking views, groundbreaking research, and exploration leading us on a path toward a future off our planet and on. Join us as we look back at the past year aboard one of history's greatest achievements, the International Space Station. From the Johnson Space Center in Houston, your host, Leah Cheshire.
Welcome to Space to Ground, and welcome to our look back at some of the memorable highlights of what has been another incredible year aboard the International Space Station. To get things started, I'm joined by some of my favorite friends, Nilofer Ramji, Chelsea Bayarte, and Kayla LaFrance. So let's start out talking about 2023 with something that started back in 2022, and that would be the record-breaking mission of Frank Rubio. Chelsea, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so NASA astronaut Frank Rubio, he's a 2017 astronaut in the Turtle class. He was supposed to go up for about a 6-month rotation and ended up staying for 371 days, breaking the US consecutive record, which is just mind-blowing how much time he spent there.
And liftoff, a sunset start to the mission of Rubio, Prokopiev, and Patelin to the International Space Station.
A lot of things in life that have tremendous experiences, what you end up really remembering the most are the people, and that's been the case absolutely up here. And so being a part of this incredible team that gets to make this happen is pretty special.
It was really admirable how Frank Rubio took this change in his mission in stride, and he continued to do the work that he was asked to do. You know, we were expecting to have another NASA astronaut up there at that time, but Frank Rubio just took on that work and continued chugging along every day as if it was the plan from the beginning.
Yeah, I worked with him during a lot of the stowage operations that we do on board the International Space Station, and he was always upbeat. We never saw any type of frustration that the time was getting long and that he missed his family, even though we all know he did. And working with him was always a delight. It was, you wanted to hear him on the loops, you wanted to have a good day with him in mission control, and it was always a great time to work with him.
I think one of the interesting things that you hear about Frank Rubio and his mission is that when they thank him, they also thank his family. The sacrifice that they had to make to be away from a family figure for over a year is it's just amazing. And it really shows how NASA is bringing in together the people that work here, but also the extensions of them across the board. So this is a feel-good story, and learning from this mission is actually preparing us for going beyond, going to the moon, going to Mars. So these long duration missions that come up ever so often really help us learn and understand the human body, but most importantly, what we've been talking about, the effects of isolation on us.
It has to be hard being away from Earth. I know a lot of astronauts say that they miss rain, they miss fresh foods, but they do every now and again get cargo missions, right? Of some treats. I know the end of the year holidays, they're getting like pumpkin spice cappuccinos, they're getting some fresh tomatoes and cheeses.
Yeah, every crew member has a certain amount of cargo space that is reserved for just them. They also get kind of surprise packages with every new vehicle that goes up, and the family can submit their favorite candy or some other treats for them. Fresh fruit and fresh vegetables are always sent up as well, and the crew always looks forward to that. It kind of gives them a fun day.
So speaking of cargo missions, we had several launches this year, including SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft on cargo resupply missions, as well as Northrop Grumman's Cygnus spacecraft, and of course the Roscosmos Progress spacecraft as well. So it was a very busy year for traffic on the International Space Station too.
Yes, we had 12 vehicles altogether, if you count all of those, for just cargo alone. The 6 vehicles that came up through the US side brought over 42,000 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station.
And of course, those aren't the only launches that we saw this year. We also saw the arrival and departures of some new crew members, some of whom had never been to the space station before. It was their first space flight. At the beginning of the year, we saw the departure of Crew 5, the launch of Crew 6, and then later on in 2023, the return of Crew 6 and the launch of Crew 7.
Yeah, we've had a lot of newbies fly to space. So we were just talking about Frank Rubio. He's in the 2017 astronaut class. They call themselves the Turtles. We had some other turtles flying as well, Jasmine Mogbelli and Laurel O'Hara. They also flew to the space station for the first time. And Woody Hoberg. He flew with Steve Bowen just before them with Crew 6. So it's been exciting seeing a lot of first-time flyers kind of experience the space station for the first time.
And we also had some international crew members as well. So having international crew members is so critical. We can't do this work without the whole team. And so being able to see the excitement of new nations when they have an astronaut or a payload in space, I think is really rewarding.
Exactly. It's what really makes the International Space Station international. With the signing of the Artemis Accords right now and exploring the moon, the international component is necessary with space exploration. What I'm loving about this new era of space exploration is that we can see ourselves in the crews, in the activities that are taking place, and it just inspires this new generation, this Artemis generation, to do more, to go beyond, and to actually pursue a lot of STEM pathways that will help them be successful in jobs like this. So it's an incredibly exciting time to be alive.
So another type of astronaut mission that we are working toward and that we've seen continued progress in this year are private astronaut missions. We've had 2 so far. The first was AX-1, Axiom Mission 1, and the second occurred earlier this year on Axiom Mission 2.
Yes, so Axiom, as we all know, is a small company here based in Houston, Texas. And right now they're working with NASA to send crew up. They're just short duration missions right now. So the one that we had this year was about 8 days long. I think it was 9 days total. And we saw a familiar face on that mission with Peggy Whitson, who was a former NASA astronaut. And then she was the commander of this flight. But the really exciting thing for these missions for me is the international aspect, because we're finally seeing all these new countries being able to get involved.
I think it's completely fascinating how these private industries are coming on board the space station and are conducting their own mission operations. We already have this from a science perspective with the orbiting lab and all the science and tech that we're trying to achieve through there. But the Axiom private astronaut missions that are happening and how they're bringing this new element of industry on the space station in low Earth orbit is absolutely amazing and actually helps us to accomplish some of our end goals with the commercialization of the International Space Station.
I think we also definitely have to mention that we have passed the 23-year anniversary of humans living and working on the International Space Station. So for anyone under 23 years old, they have never lived a day when all humans were on the Earth. There's always been someone living aboard the space station, working, doing scientific research, maintaining the space station, and I think that that's something really worth celebrating.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And like you were saying, Oliver, these kids in this 23rd year are increasingly seeing astronauts that look more and more like them as these role models. And I know I've personally gotten to enjoy just kind of learning about these other cultures that I might not have known about. For instance, we were talking to Sultan Al Niyati of the United Arab Emirates, and we got to learn if he'll be observing Ramadan during that time. And the crew members talking about getting to try foods that may not have come in their U.S. meal kits that they get to enjoy while they're on the space station.
Kayla, Chelsea, and Nilofer, thank you so much for joining me as we started our chat today. And now it's time for science. I'm now joined by some more familiar faces. Shaniqua Vereen and Jaden Jennings are now here along with Kayla LaFrance. So we were just looking at the science on the International Space Station. Jaden, was there anything that stood out to you this year in science that was conducted?
Yes, so actually we 3D bioprinted our first human knee meniscus on the International Space Station, which was a huge achievement in the science community. This was out of a company at Redwire Space. One of the most common orthopedic injuries that we see on the ground is a torn meniscus. The meniscus cannot be replaced, but it can be surgically repaired or removed. So earlier this year in the biofabrication facility, the first human knee meniscus was successfully printed. And the coolest part to me is that gravity is not a factor in this environment. So that was something I thought was just a really awesome.
So that is a lot of fascinating research that happened on the inside of the International Space Station. But of course, as we all know, there is always quite a lot of work going on outside of the International Space Station as well. And I'm talking about spacewalks.
We had quite a few spacewalks this year. NASA astronauts Woody Hoberg and Steve Bowen installed the new ISS rollout solar array, augmenting the power to the station.
We also had another important spacewalk this year. That was Laurel O'Hara and Jasmine Mobelli.
Right.
They were preparing to install a future International Space Station rollout solar array. They also repaired one of the current solar arrays, one of the originals on the space station. And again, those IROSAs are really helping us pave the way for future missions. That's just one way that the International Space Station is being used.
We also are looking at some of the technology that can be done outside the station. There's a few experiments that are in the vacuum of space that have been put out there, testing different materials and how they hold up in radiation environment and the extreme temperatures that we have.
We are working on tech demos that are new systems that we can see being used for Artemis and Mars missions in the future. We have new CO2 scrubbers called 4-bed CO2. We have a new water dispenser unit that they are testing just to see if we can have one that's more reliant. Can we have better water cleaning? Can we have urine processing that's even better? We've updated that recently with a new brine processor assembly that takes even more water out of your urine.
So another thing I want to touch on is how we share this message with everyone. We have a really exciting social media presence that I hope everyone gets to follow and see all of the imagery that comes down from the astronauts. Jaden, as our social media manager, did you have any big highlights this year?
Oh yeah, well, not only just for me learning how we operate and learning more about the International Space Station, but just being able to see the crew members put their own twist on their experiences. So for example, with Crew 6 with Woody Hoberg, a lot of times he would send videos down to us and he would say, hey, can you look at these and see what you think? And I just thought they were so phenomenal that he gets to share this messaging and walk us through the space station, walk us through an AstroBee experiment from his point of view and explain to the viewers, hey, this is what I'm working on, this is what's going on the space station this week.
This is actually a cylindrically shaped airlock that we have the capability to put small payloads inside of and send them out to space.
Another good example of someone who loved social media was astronaut Al-Nayati. He was very active on his social media account and was able to participate in a lot of astrophotography, which is what a lot of our NASA astronauts did as well. And astrophotography helps us see the vantage point that we wouldn't be able to see here on Earth. So whether that's helping with weather or climate, I know that what I thoroughly enjoyed was looking at the pictures that they'd send of city skylines at night or the auroras that they would capture. And I know Josh Cassada got a really nice aurora picture that went viral on social media that was really nice to see.
Not only can the International Space Station give us a beautiful view of what's on the Earth, we also get a pretty amazing view of the International Space Station ourselves with the naked eye. We've got the new Spot the Station app that's available now.
Yes, so the Spot the Space Station app is so new and we're excited. It just dropped recently. So basically you can have Spot the Station and the International Space Station at your fingertips. So if you want to go outside and look overhead when it's flying over your hometown, you can sign up for alerts. You can submit pictures and video. We'll be on the lookout for those on social media, and it's available on Androids and iPhones.
And in addition to the Spot the Station app, we also have released NASA Plus, which is our new streaming service, totally free, packed with awesome mission coverage as well as some features as well. So hope everyone gets a chance to check that out. Shaniqua, Jaden, and Kayla, thank you again for sitting down with me and talking about some of the highlights this year on the space station. Now let's move on and talk to one more member of our family. For over 6 years, Ana Cristina Olvera has been the host of Espacio a Tierra, which is a version of Space to Ground available for the global Spanish-speaking audience of nearly 486 million people. She joins us now from Mexico City. Hola, Ana.
Hi, Leah. It's great to be here with you in Space to Ground today.
So looking back, what was the one moment or highlight that stands out to you from this year on the space station?
The science aboard the International Space Station is always exciting, but important milestones are also being achieved to go further into deep space and make space more inclusive. One of my favorite moments was the second commercial mission by Axiom, where 2 astronauts from Saudi Arabia embarked on a 9-day mission with significant scientific experiments and numerous outreach activities, connecting from space to their home country. Another highlight of this year is the spacewalk conducted by Jasmine Mockbelly and Laurel O'Hara, making the second pair of women to perform an all-female spacewalk on the International Space Station, following Christina Koch and Jessica Meir. And of course, I cannot overlook the iconic flight of Frank Rubio.
What were the significances of his flight to the Hispanic community?
Frank Rubio has become a significant icon for the Hispanic community with his groundbreaking achievement. Following in the footsteps of predecessors such as Jose Hernandez, Ellen Ochoa, and Michael Lopez Alegría, he now paves an important path that underscores the relevance of representation.
Ahora van a poder ver que es un poco más lento volar con 2 cámaras porque es un poco grande y tengo que manejar las cámaras.
Through his scientific and outreach activities, where he connected in his native language, even here in Mexico and throughout the Hispanic world, and with that iconic image upon his return, where he shares the moment with Joe Acaba, chief astronaut and also Hispanic, they provide an example of the significant contribution this community continues to make to the advancement of human spaceflight. We look forward to seeing more Hispanics reach milestones like going to the moon and Mars.
Ana Cristina Alvera is the host of Espacio y Tierra. Ana, thank you so much for joining us.
It has been my absolute pleasure. Here's for more adventures together in 2024.
So obviously we've had a really busy, really exciting 2023, but I know there is even more to look forward to coming up next year. What are you most excited about in 2024?
For 2024, I think what comes to mind for me is CFT. We'll have NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore on the Starliner going to the International Space Station. First people to go, and it makes a redundancy for us to get up to the space station.
Yeah, commercial crew program in full force.
Yes.
Chelsea, how about you?
So I think I'm most excited for NASA getting 10 new astronauts into the astronaut corps. So we have our astronaut candidates who've been training all year long, and in 2024, they're going to become flight certified astronauts.
I can't wait for that. Jaden, how about you?
I'm really looking forward to the TRAPPIA crew on site at Johnson Space Center exiting the habitat and the research that we gain from their mission, applying it to future long-duration missions. I'm also looking forward to the future spacewalk selfies that we'll get for social media.
Nilüfer, anything special in 2024?
I think just this increase of crew and cargo traffic that we're seeing across the board, seeing new crew members come on, really bringing that international element to the International Space Station.
All right, Kayla, wrap us up.
I'm really excited for the new cargo vehicles coming up. We have Sierra Space bringing their first flight of their cargo Dream Chaser, but also JAXA, our international partner, bringing the new HTV-X, which is a key component also for future Artemis missions. So I'm very excited to see those come to the ISS and where we're going to see those go in the future.
Well, believe it or not, you all took my answers from what I'm looking forward to in 2024. And thank you all so much for joining us as we reminisced on what an amazing year we've had.
Thank you,
Thank
Leah.
you. Thank you.
And that's it for our look back on the past year as we celebrate a quarter-century of operations on the International Space Station. From all of us, we wish you a happy and safe new year. Thanks for watching.